So where do you start with this one? The First Descendants beta is still ongoing for another few days, but I thought I would put out a review of the beta of what I think of it right now. If for any of you who are comparing it to any of your existing looter shooters, I guess the best way to describe this right now would be, have you ever seen or heard of someone copying homework in school, but they decide to just change the wording of it ever so slightly just so that they could try and get away with it? No? Well, me neither. Or you ask your mom if you could play Destiny or Warframe, and then she tells you you already have Destiny or Warframe at home, and it turns out to be the First Descendant. You get the idea, right? Long video ahead with a fair amount of criticism, so please get comfy. Now, I do need to reiterate the point that I did really enjoy the First Descendant beta for what it was. I was playing with a large group of friends all the time. It is a test for a new game, for them to gather as much feedback as possible and hopefully change a few things. And it's definitely a game with great potential. Whether it chooses to live up to that potential remains to be seen. Because I have some gripes, and I know I'm not the only one, but I also have a lot of hope that they'll change some things and make it more enjoyable, because if it releases in its current state, it won't last long. And I want it to last long. I want another looter for myself and my friends to get lost, and providing there isn't pay to win, then I want this to be something we can all jump into. I'm fed up of new looters coming out and failing because they ignore feedback and plow ahead with a game that dies after 2 months. Now, the first thing I want to mention is microtransactions, or pay to win, because it is Nexon who have a history, and I know that's more or less the largest talking point anytime I have put up a video of the First Descendant. Now, the beta had no store in it whatsoever, so we have no idea how heavy or not these microtransactions will be. I know there's concerns for it, so I will mention that they've answered a question in a recent interview with Digital Trends, and how they won't be going heavy with microtransactions, how they want to keep it as light as possible, and they want to imitate similar games in the looter genre right now using microtransactions, which instantly makes me think that they want to follow Warframe's model of boosters, skins, prime currency, and of course characters for real money if you want to, while also allowing you to farm the Descendants, which are I guess the characters you'll be using, the heroes, the weapons, and so on in game as well. Now, we have no idea how heavy the grind will be, because during the beta they are just throwing things at you. They're throwing real money currency as well to allow you to unlock the Descendants and try them all out to get a good feel for them, while also plenty of weapons. And I think there was also an experience booster active throughout the beta so that you could hit level 40 relatively quickly. Now, of course, none of that will be in the real game, and it might be more diluted than what we got to experience during the beta. I did stream it for multiple days. I hit 40 on characters and then reset them to see what that system was like, as well as fighting most of the Colossus bosses. So I did enjoy it, I'm not going to deny that. But it would be fake of me to not point out how this game seems to lack any sense of an identity. It is visually beautiful, right? Unreal Engine 5, so it's going to shine on that front. But almost everything in this game is either, dare I say it, a direct copy or heavily influenced by other games already in this genre. Warframe, Destiny, Outriders, Anthem, the list goes on, your go-to looters. The similarities are almost impossible to ignore. It's basically taken some of the better systems from your favourite looter shooters and then tried to gel them all together. Whether that's going to be one cohesive unit or not remains to be seen, because there was a lot of content we haven't yet experienced. Now, take Warframe's modding system for example. It is called the Rune system in the First Descendants, and it is runes with different stats that can alter how your weapons and characters perform, complete with polarities on these runes that will fill a capacity on your Descendant or your character or your hero. So matching a rune's polarity with a rune slot's polarity will reduce that capacity cost. It's Warframe's modding system, just with a different name. There's no other way to describe it. You can also reset your Descendant, your hero, your Warframe's level once you hit level 40. This will allow you to spend a resource that inserts a new polarity of your choosing into that Descendant, which will allow you to equip more runes. Basically, it's Warframe's Forma system, just with a different name. Classes are called Descendants, but there is also an ultimate version of the same Descendant that comes with a slightly better stats. It's basically primed versions of Warframes, just with a different name. So you can see the rune systems in the game is heavily influenced by Warframe. Like a lot of looters, it has defense missions where you defend an objective from being destroyed. It has survival missions against waves of increasingly difficult enemies. It has an extraction style of mission where you have to defend an objective while picking up items to then bring them back to charge up that objective. So again, kind of Warframe influenced, but those kind of, I guess, systems or those kind of missions are in a lot of looters, so I'm going to leave that to one side. Now, the main town hub is a city with a giant orb, totally not called a tower, right? Ajax is basically a bubble titan. Sharon, I think it was, the female character, has the Trickster from Outrider's melee attack. Vauban's Vortex Grenade volts speed with Bunny, but again, that's just nitpicking, right? These are abilities or systems that can be seen in other games as well, but it doesn't help the case one little bit when there's already so many similarities with the game and then you pile these on top of it. Now the UI, I know a lot of players really didn't like it and are comparing it to either Outrider's UI or Anthem's UI, and I will agree, it's cluttered, it's overloaded, it's a kind of an information overload. The descriptions or tooltips for certain things need to be better. Seeing what a weapon's stats are like with and without the runes equipped should be more visible, so we know exactly what the runes are changing. The rune page itself is really hard to look at. Filtering runes or searching for specific ones is horrendous. Runes of the same variety don't stack on top of one another, so you could have like a big list of 4 or 5 of the same. The list goes on. Right now, some of the systems in this game reminds me of Warframe maybe 4 or 5 years ago, before they started to, I guess, declutter a lot of their systems. It was hard to get a proper feel for the Descendants themselves because, like I said, there was a lot of content that we haven't seen, so we couldn't get a proper feel of what a maxed out build might be like. We know that there is a lot of legendary specific weapons that haven't been added into the game for the beta. Unique weapons, I believe, and chances are these will alter how your builds perform. But from what I did experience with the Descendants, Jaber with his support turrets was the one I enjoyed the most during the beta. Healing and assault turrets generate aggro from enemies, so they're kind of a distraction while also doing damage and healing your teammates, so he was useful. Bunny looked insane against trash mobs but weak against armoured. Glay, the vampire chick, was busted with her ultimate, but they just nerfed her, so I don't think she's as busted. Ajax, like I said, is the bubble titan, but he is really tanky and probably one of the best Descendants in the beta. I have no idea if there's going to be more additional Descendants that'll go live once the game actually gets released, or if this is the roster that we can expect once the game goes live. So I guess the TLDR of my experience playing the beta so far is I did really enjoy it. I wanted to be successful. I enjoyed it with my friends playing it especially. I enjoyed the boss fights. I want the melee to be maybe a little bit more interactive because right now there's nearly a 1 or 2 second delay in between melee strikes, so it doesn't really make sense having melee in it whatsoever. The guns, while the gunplay itself felt good to a degree, the actual audio for the weapons sounds terrible. A lot of them just sound like popcorn. The LMG does not sound beefy at all. Shotgun sounds okay, sniper sounds somewhat okay, but they seem to have kind of more of a plink sound than anything else. The game itself is basically Warframe with a Destiny or Outriders visual aesthetic, with abilities taken from Outriders, Tricksters, Bubble Titans and Destiny. Warframe abilities, Outriders or Anthem's UI, with Warframe's modding system complete with Forma, with prime variants of the Descendants as well, with mastery rank. You get the idea. This game is insanely heavily influenced by games we already play. But if they can change a few things, if they can declutter that UI, if they can make the weapons sound a little bit beefier, if they can give us a better idea as to what the microtransactions might be like, instead of saying, oh, we promise we won't do this or we promise we won't do that, actually show us what the store might be like maybe the next time to do a beta test, that would be appreciated. But overall, it definitely needs some work. It's not ready for release, and if they do release it, then it'll just go the same way as Outriders or Anthem or any of the other ones, and it'll be dead after maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. And hopefully that's not the case, because I want it to be successful. I do like the visuals of this game, and I enjoy the idea of fighting those huge Colossus enemies. But let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the Descendants, the First Descendant beta, if you jumped into it, whether you agree with my take or not. Again, I'm not trying to be overly negative just for the sake of it. I'm not that kind of person. Anyone who watches my channel will know that I'm more or less always the neutral guy, but this one needs to be put back in the oven until it's ready. So have a great day, and as always, thanks for watching.